Okay. Again, folks that came to the Policy Council got to see this last couple of weeks ago. Excuse me. And we're just going to run through the basic introduction. Again, we were asked by our administration to try to come up with a revised amendment format that addresses a couple of concerns. There are folks that were looking for a little less material in our mail-out packet. Sometimes it gets really, really lengthy. It's difficult to digest and understand what the overall impact of our changes are that are being proposed. And at the same time, our old format didn't provide a lot of the nitty-gritty details that folks like to see to really understand exactly how much of which funding source. That breakdown wasn't in the old format, and some of the other details weren't there. And we've been asked on a number of occasions by our federal friends to add in details to this format that made it kind of a difficult process to manage and kind of messy. So we've been asked to come up with a little cleaner summary that will go in the mail-out packet, and there's hyperlinks that will take you to additional detail information on every project, so you'll be able to see in detail the before and after effect of each proposed modification. So this is the revised amendment format, and again, folks would have received this in their TAC mail-out packet last month or at the TPC meeting. I'll walk through it a little bit, and then we'll live demo it with the actual document as well. So just like in the old format, you'll have basic project information. The IDs are provided there on the left, so you know what the MPOID or CSJ is that you're looking at, who the sponsor of the project is, basic project information. You'll note this is truncated a little bit to make sure it fits in a confined space, but it should be enough. We'll make it a little bigger than it is this last month, get a little bit more in there, but it's really enough just to make sure folks are aware of what the project is. It's reference, not to provide all of the complete description. We might have a much lengthier full description, just a reference. And then the information to the right will indicate for everybody what type of modification is being proposed, if that'll affect the funding of the project. So we'll indicate here what the net change is to the funding amount, that'll be the amount that is shown, as well as if there's a funding source change, you'll see a little letter there that will indicate that the funding source is being changed. You can look and see if the scope is being modified. That will be if we're changing the facility name, the limits, the description of work, or the phases that are being authorized. That will show up under the scope column. Finally, the schedule. So if we're moving it, delaying it, advancing it, that would show up on the rightmost column. And this is really kind of trying to get at least what our general instruction is, getting at the 90 to 95% of the information that folks will want to see and be able to understand in general what changes are being proposed on the individual projects. As I mentioned, the leftmost column, the IDs, are a hyperlink for each project. You click on it, it'll take you to those detailed project tables that we use. It's really exactly the same format that we use in the printed original TIP document with all of the detailed information provided. So I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. The other adjustment is obviously in our mail-out materials, that's what we typically call our background paper. And instead of just listing, again, each kind of bundled set of changes, we used to number these, Amendment 24, 25, 26. We're going to do this monthly, so they'll just all be packaged up within each month. So this is obviously what we had for administrative modifications this past month in January. And again, looking at that funding, scope, and schedule change, we can give a snapshot as to what changes are being proposed in this month's action, so folks kind of get a feel for what the magnitude of adjustments are. Particularly that funding line item will give you an indication if we've got a lot of new commitments or projects being canceled or something like that. You can see the overall effect on the financials of the TIP there. Okay. With that, I think we're going to flip over to the actual document. Okay, I'll scroll down. Again, this is our background paper that we'll provide each month that gives the basic overview of the number of projects being modified, as well as what changes are being made in the funding, scope, schedule. And any particular notes that are unique, we'll notate them here. Get into the table, and we've got the ID information on the left, sponsor, basic project information, and then the proposed modification types, funding, scope, and schedule, as well as I didn't mention the type of modification here. If it's something that will require further approval as part of the STIP process, that would say STIP. If it's just affecting our local TIP, it's administrative for the statewide process, it'll say non-STIP, like here. Or if it's only affecting the RTP, it would just say RTP. Okay? And not too dissimilar from what we were doing before, just in a slightly different spot. We'll use the first project as the example. You notice if you hover over it, I'll give you the link. You can click on it. We'll bring up the PDF, and it's got the page number embedded in the link. I note for some of our computers here that are using an older version of Internet Explorer, you might find the first time you click on that link, it takes you to the beginning of the PDF packet. I would encourage you to just go back and try to click on that same link again. It usually works the second time. I do know that if you use Google Chrome or Microsoft Firefox, it seems to work a little bit better and takes you straight to the project. Just sometimes an older version of Internet Explorer doesn't work so great. So again, it's taking you straight to the project. You know, the first page will have the proposed version of the project, and the fields that are changing will be highlighted. So you know, in this case, we're really only changing the schedule of the project. So that project is being delayed, I believe, from 2017 to 2019. So that's highlighted here. And if any of the other fields were changed or were to change, that will be highlighted as well. If the funding source is changing, that would be highlighted, or the funding amount, that would be highlighted. The scope, or the phases authorized, that will be highlighted as well. Scroll down, the following page would have the old version of the project. So note here, same project, same funding commitment, but original schedule before the modification, so 2017. Okay. That in a nutshell is kind of how we're laying this out. It was intended to try to give folks that both wanted a little less information in the mail-up packet, so they can understand the overall impact of the proposed modifications, that view, as well as more detailed information for folks that really wanted to dig down in and understand the full nitty-gritty details.